Hey historians, I'm Abby.
And I'm Sophie.
And today we're going to be talking about a famous inventor, teacher, and agricultural scientist. But what is agriculture? Agriculture is the science or practice of farming. This includes discovering and using the best methods for growing and selling food, other plants, and farm animals. But what is a scientist? A scientist is someone who researches and performs experiments with chemicals, plants, and other cool things to test ideas and theories in order to figure out how the world works. The accomplished agricultural scientist we are talking about this week is named George Washington Carver.
George was born around 1864 in Missouri to parents who were enslaved. His parents, Mary and Giles, died when he was very young, so he lived with his enslavers named Moses and Susan Carver in Diamond, Missouri. After slavery was abolished in Missouri on July 4, 1865, Moses and Susan raised George and his brother James. What does abolish mean? To abolish something means formally and completely putting an end to an institution, practice, law, or system.
As a kid, George was often sick and too weak to help with intensive farm chores, so he helped Susan with household chores, including cooking, laundry, and vegetable gardening. George spent a lot of time in the woods around the farm, collecting rocks, specimens of beautiful flowers, and other types of plants. He became known as the plant doctor to those who knew him, since he loved studying and taking care of those plants. However, George didn't stop there. He loved everything about nature and wanted to study everything from specific plants and bugs to bigger ideas, like how all things in nature were connected or how things work.
In addition to learning about the plants around his house as a child, George attended school. He enjoyed learning and eventually discovered he wanted to go to college to continue his education. He was accepted as a student at Highland College in Kansas, but because of his skin color, he was not allowed to attend when he arrived. This is known as racism. What is racism? Racism is a type of discrimination where people are treated poorly or worse than others because of their skin color. Since he was not allowed to attend at Highland, George decided to go to Simpson College in Indianola, right here in Iowa.
He originally went to college to study art, which we will talk more about next week, but his art teacher, Etta Budd, encouraged him to change his major to biology and botany because of his love and appreciation of plants. But what are biology and botany? Biology is the study of all life. This includes everything from the functions of the human body to the life cycle of insects, to the tiny cells of any living being. Botany is a subtype of biology that focuses specifically on the study of plants, including how they are structured and where they grow. After the change in his major, George decided to transfer to Iowa Agricultural College, now Iowa State University in Ames, Iowa, in 1891. George Washington Carver was the first African American student to attend this college. He graduated in 1896 after earning a bachelor's degree in agriculture and a master's of science. He also became this college's first African American faculty member.
After his time at Iowa State in 1896, George was contacted by Booker T. Washington and offered the position of director of the agricultural department at the Tuskegee Institute in Alabama. His acceptance of the position would begin his over 4-decade-long career at Tuskegee. During his time at Tuskegee, George wanted to help farmers. He researched crops that farmers could plant instead of cotton because farmers had a hard time growing cotton because of a new pest called the boll weevil. In order to persuade farmers to grow crops such as peanuts or sweet potatoes, he researched various ways they could be used to make different products. George Washington Carver became quite famous because of this work, and we will learn more about his impact on agriculture and farmers in the South next week.
In addition to researching at Tuskegee, George taught chemistry and agricultural science, including better farming techniques like crop rotation, crop selection, and fertilization. The lab that he was provided to teach science in at Tuskegee did not have proper equipment to perform experiments. George was very resourceful and decided to outfit the lab with found pieces of glassware and other equipment. What does resourceful mean? If someone is resourceful, that means that they are a problem solver and can come up with quick solutions to challenges they face. George found a solution to his problem by searching with his students for pieces that they could reuse or recycle in the chemistry lab, specifically in the trash from the institute and the town's dump.
In order to teach chemistry and research the properties of plants and soil he was studying at the university, George performed Cookstove chemistry experiments. These experiments were able to be done with things someone could find in their kitchen, and they allowed George to learn about plants and farming, as well as teach his students about chemical properties and other ideas without fancy lab equipment and materials. George Washington Carver was able to make great strides in agricultural science, teach his students, and help farmers around the institution thanks to his resourcefulness and passion for bettering the lives of farmers. We are going to celebrate this quick-thinking scientist by doing a tasty Cookstove experiment of our own.
First, we're going to add the sugar, milk, whipping cream, and vanilla into the quart-sized Ziploc bag, and we're going to seal this bag securely. Next, we're going to add the ice into the gallon Ziploc bag. It's optional, but if you like, feel free to use a thermometer to record the temperature of the ice. Then, we'll add the salt. Once we've added the salt, we'll take the quart-sized bag and put it inside the gallon-sized bag of ice and salt. Seal the gallon bag securely. Using the dish towel to wrap around the bag here, gently rock the bag from side to side. It's best to hold it by the top seal or to use the dishcloth between the bag and your hands because the bag will be very cold. We're going to continue to rock and gently move around the bag for about 10 to 15 minutes or until the contents in the quart-sized bag have solidified into ice cream. Ice has to absorb energy in order to melt, changing the phase of water from a solid to a liquid. When you use ice to cool the ingredients for ice cream, the energy is absorbed from the ingredients and from the outside environment, like your hands in this experiment. When you add salt to the ice, it lowers the freezing point, so even more energy has to be absorbed from the environment in order for the ice to melt. This makes the ice colder than it was before, which is how your ice cream freezes. Ideally, you would make your ice cream using ice cream salt, which is just salt sold as large crystals instead of the small crystals you see in table salt. The larger crystals take more time to dissolve in the water around the ice, which allows for even cooling of the ice cream. Now that we have our ice cream ready, feel free to grab your spoon and bowl and enjoy. During George's life as a scientist, he did many experiments in chemistry that may have been similar to this one. With this activity, we've been able to step into George's shoes and see what it's like to work with chemicals and be our own scientists.
That's all for us today, historians. We'll see you all next week to dive into Carver's artistic side and make some cool art, as well as discuss his successes in agricultural advancement, where we will plant our own small garden. Thanks for coming on this history adventure with us. Bye!
Bye, everybody.